And we are live. As I'm blowing smoke, literally blowing smoke literally into the camera. But now we're officially live. It's good to be back. Let me just tell you guys, something crazy happened yesterday. And it was like, I tried to do a podcast last night, literally. So I go on my phone, right? I go on my phone and I'm looking and I'm like, you know how I use the Anchor app and stuff, right? I use that to put, you can just sit there and literally record yourself talk, download the voice memo app. Is there a glare? There's a glare in my fucking glasses. Literally, dude, I'm rocking the new shades, the new aviators. It just came in the mail, and that's gonna be a staple. That's gonna be something that I'm constantly gonna be wearing, man. It's part of my persona now. I'm rocking the shades. I also got the sunglass aviators as well, but I'm more of a like the more clear type of them. It's always been one of my favorite types. But what I was gonna say is, like I said, never try to do a podcast while you're fucking crossfaded, because I literally got home from late night shift, and then I just literally like sat inside the car, had my pen, and I actually drank a Voodoo. Like I said, I'm a big fan of import beer. I'm a big fan of IPAs and stuff like that. So I mean, this is the one I usually drink like when I get home. You know how a lot of people will get off work and drink their Modelo's, or they go home to get their 12 packs and shit. Well, occasionally when I know I'm gonna be off the next day, I don't mind sipping on one of these. But yeah, these are you guys ever try these? They're actually one of my favorites. If you're a drinker or you drink beer, hopefully I'm not encouraging anybody to drink or become a drinker. If anything, you've ever heard of it? It's pretty good, man. I fuck with it. I like it. But yeah, so I was in the car, probably talking for about I think we're probably talking for about 18 or so minutes, and then that's when I was just like, I'm kind of like fucked up here, man. I was like, I don't know if I can function and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So it's like I didn't know if it would be proper. So I said I wouldn't want to put a half-ass performance into a podcast and stuff. So and then on top of that, I wanted to go on live too, so that's what we're doing today. So like I said, for audio listeners, we are live as well. We do have video edition for episode 346 will be available for everybody. Like I said, audio, video, doesn't matter, whichever one. Ladies and gentlemen, you're gonna have the option to check both out. Preferably, like I said, if you're on the go, if you're in your car, if you don't want to drive and pay attention to your phone, you can obviously, like I said, that's what the podcast is for. Literally get on Spotify, literally get it on Apple Podcasts. And I know all the newer cars and shit like that all have the little GPS system, the little screen on the inside, and that's how I know how that's like. Yeah, obviously, like you said, you can stream. You can basically mirror your iPhone on there. I don't know about how Android is and stuff like that, but I know you can mirror it. But yeah, man, it's cool. It's gonna be 6 years. That's cool, man. I mean, I still remember the exact time that I had sat and thought about. Well, I actually wasn't sitting when I was thinking about this podcast. You know what's so funny? Because I think at that point in time I'd already been listening to a couple, and I remember how I was very passionate about, how I'm very passionate about talking. Here we are talking about podcasts, an hour or so each episode on average. But you know me, like I'm a big talker. I started off as a big talker. So now, I mean, dating back to probably about 6 years ago when I started this podcast, but I was 18 years old and I'm 24 now. So I was I was thinking I was literally going on a jog because of where I used to live in apartments, probably about 45 minutes away. I lived in apartments right across from a big street, but also it was a very quiet and private kind of community. So on top of that, it wasn't really like the worst spot. Like there wasn't like really too bad of people over there. Like you wouldn't run into any bullshit or anything. At least on the other side of the fence. So there's this really nice bike path, like a really really nice bike path that goes to the park, goes to the other side of the city. If you keep following the bike path, it's throughout the city. I actually used that very bike path when I first started college and stuff to walk through. Like I would walk to college every day or every time. Yeah, so every time I had class, literally you would take that back road. I wouldn't take the normal street that you could eventually go down the road and really just drive your car all the way down and get there. But there's this cut off bike path that I tried and stuff. So I mean, I was really attached to it. The main point behind this is what I'm saying is that that's when I was jogging, right? I was like, I literally stopped and I was thinking in my head, I was like, how can I start a podcast? Like, how can I get my voice out there? How can I mean, I was so good with writing articles and stuff like that, but I wasn't like into it completely. Like it wasn't my thing. But I was just like, how can I get my voice out there? And I started Googling it when I got home. I started Googling, I started looking it up. I was just like thinking in my head, I was like, how can I start a podcast? And I was looking at some apps. Believe it or not, like throughout the history of this entire show, um, it's been literally like I've literally grown up in the podcasting world. So like I said, it's it's pretty crazy because I'm just thinking about like the rise. Like you start off, I don't need the headphones on. They really just actually for anybody that's wondering why I took them off. Yeah, I don't need them on. They're noise canceling. I cannot hear any backgrounds or anything like that. But we can make some. I can. It's like focus a little better. I don't know. What was I saying about the? Oh yeah, so like it wasn't that far of like it was like probably about 25 minutes, but at this point it was like a straightaway. So you literally walk down the road and it's a straightaway. But yeah, so I came into the idea of thinking about how I wanted to put my voice out there. I mean, obviously at that time I was very aware of SoundCloud. I was very aware of I mean I had to look up some podcast apps. You know what I mean? So there's this one I use. It's called Spreaker or something like that. I think it's still out there and available, but I think it only lets you do like about 30 minutes or something like that. But that's not even the point. Like the main point is like I'm so fucking glad that I ended up finding a good ass platform like Anchor to distribute my podcast. And I know I talk about it a lot. I know I bring it a lot. I know I toot my own horn when it comes to that. But it's just a fucking wild moment because I remember constantly struggling trying to find a fucking platform to talk on and to broadcast on. And what better platform to do it than one created by the makers of Spotify? You know what I mean? So it's coming up on 6 years. Um, it's coming up on 2 years or 6 years, excuse me, not 2 years. What the fuck am I saying? But I mean, I don't know. We have like a wild ass episode or some shit like that. Should we? Should we have a wild ass episode? I mean, that would be cool. Like I would be down for that. Let me get a little bit closer to the mic. But yeah. But anyways, we got a really good show today. I know enough of us ranting, talking about the history. I mean, the history is important, but that's not why we're here. We actually did talk about UFC 262 last weekend. At least, excuse me, last podcast, but we're here to talk about it because it is fight week. It's UFC 262 fight week. Chandler Oliveira for the vacant lightweight title. We got Tony Ferguson, Beneil Dariush, and man, I've gotten a little bit attached to these three title fights on one card. Wasn't it? I believe it was Nate Diaz versus Leon Edwards on that card as well, if I wasn't mistaken. Ferguson versus Dariush was on there as well, but Nate got injured, so they pushed that fight forward to a later date, and got the Jake Paul vibes, bro. Look at that. I got some serious Jake Paul vibes. But alas, we do get a vacant lightweight title fight, and we did excuse me, actually go in depth last night. Last night, like I said, when we tried to attempt to do an episode of the show, I was hesitant. I was just like, well, at the end of it, I was just like, oh, dude, I'm fucked up. I'm pretty tired. It was more so that I was tired, and the high was like the perfect high to where like it makes you want to get lazy and lay down. I mean, it's a hybrid. Like this pen's a hybrid, but I don't know why it was made me feel like extra tired. I think my body was just tired at that point. But yeah, when we're talking about it in depth, the style between Michael Chandler and the style of Charles Oliveira. Charles Oliveira, an expert submission artist. I mean, very dangerous on the ground. You take him down, he can snatch any part of your body and your limbs up in a second. Like, you cannot mess with Charles Oliveira when he's on the ground, especially if he takes you down and he's able to have his way with you. And he did grapple and take Tony Ferguson down and looked super impressive in his fight. And the way he did that to Tony Ferguson, man, and just the hot streak that Charles Oliveira has been on. Are you kidding me? This guy is world championship level material. This podcast is going a little bit different than the way I was thinking about, but I'm gonna drop some knowledge right now. That's why I'm gonna say some things that I've been thinking about when it comes to this fight and this upcoming fight, a massive underdog pick right here. I am super high on Charles Oliveira, and I'm very impressed with what he's been able to do and the levels of competition. So it's not like he's just fighting just whoever the UFC gives him. He's fighting the best that the UFC has to offer, and he's looked good as of late. I think he's on 7 or 8 fights in a row, victorious. I mean, he's fighting a very game guy in the form of Michael Chandler, who's also been there and done that. He's also done something Charles Oliveira hasn't done, which is win a world championship multiple times in Bellator. I mean, it's a different organization, but the main point of this conversation is the fact that he became a champion in another organization and knows what it's like. I mean, if you look at the guy's Instagram, man, his Instagram and Valentina Shevchenko's Instagram are some of the most physical, and Zhang Weili as well. But when I look at Michael Chandler and Valentina Shevchenko's Instagram and seeing how hard they're fucking working and all that, it makes me feel lazy. Like, I'm sitting there at home. I mean, we all do things good in our own rights, but I'm like, literally, I'm sitting here at home, like, looking at this, and I'm like, holy shit, they're making me look lazy, especially Michael Chandler. So Michael Chandler has that mindset of a champion. Obviously, if you look at his captions, if you look at his dedication to the sport, if you look at how good and how relevant he stayed despite his long history. I mean, similarly history to Eddie Alvarez. If you look at how long Eddie Alvarez has been around, and if you look at how long Michael Chandler's been fighting and been more successful than he has anything else. I mean, obviously he had that little hiccup with Patricio Pitbull, the older Pitbull, but his last fight over in Bellator, he knocked out Benson Henderson, came over to the UFC, knocked out Dan Hooker in impressive fashion. That set him up for the fight with Charles Oliveira. Now, however, like I said, styles make fights. So Michael Chandler, a big, stocky, very strong, very fast, very quick on the feet, very, very good knockout power for sure. And he's very quick, and his scrambles are super amazing. Like I said, if you guys remember that video that video of him and Usman, it's not hard to find. You can probably find it on Instagram, or like I said, Google is free. As I read someone's comment the other day, something like that, said he was talking about like Google is free, so you'll be able to look up certain things. But yeah, so it'll be an amazing fight. I'm very interested in seeing what Michael Chandler can do. Like I said, if he avoids the ground game and avoids the ground completely of Charles Oliveira and makes this a striking fight, it can favor him greatly. I mean, his combinations, the power he comes with, everything he throws it to end. And, obviously, like I said, if you look at that fight with Hooker, man, he loaded that shit up, and then boom, what was it, like a left hand or right hand over the top? He dropped Hooker, then he has a killer instinct. So he's ready to win at any given time, and he's ready to win in impressive fashion. And obviously, like I said, I've seen his scrambles, I've seen his wrestling. I mean, Chandler is good everywhere it goes. I mean, look at the suplex city he put on Benson Henderson in the first fight. So, correction, I realized that I just remembered that he fought Benson Henderson twice. The first time was it was one of those weird split decisions, and then we move forward, and then he stops Benson Henderson in the second fight. So I mean that's different. No one's ever really done that to Benson Henderson other than Rafael dos Anjos. Rafael dos Anjos' knockout over Benson was impressive too. Um, but also, so like I said, I mean, Michael Chandler has phenomenal wrestling, and I feel like if he's the type of guy that to go to the ground, he knows that any given time, Charles Oliveira can snatch something up. His submissions are deadly, dude. It looks like it fucking hurts. Like every single time Charles Oliveira latches up a submission, I mean, you can go up and pull up the highlight reel for yourself. I'm just like, dude, oh my god, this guy's submissions look like your limbs are gonna be hurting for a very long time. They're so fucking sneaky and nasty. And you want to know something wild that I was thinking about yesterday? I was like, dude, you guys see the submission loss, the Charles Oliveira submission loss to Jim Miller? Dude, Jim Miller, you look at how good fucking Charles Oliveira's jiu-jitsu is. Dude, his jiu-jitsu, and you look at me fucking to stutter. His jiu-jitsu is, oh my god, off the fucking charts. Amazing. That's one of Charles Oliveira's best weapons, if not the best weapon. And he submitted Jim Miller, but the fact that Jim Miller was able to submit him was just fucking wild. Young or not in the sport at the time, that's just wild. That shows you how crazy that sport is. That was a big win for Jim Miller, and the fact that Charles came back and he was able to do that. But dude, he puts it all together. I mean, going from Charles Oliveira to Michael Chandler, I know we're bouncing back and forward, but if you look at the striking, it's evolved for Oliveira. His front kicks are nasty as well. He has good kicks, good punches. His grappling's amazing. His transitions are amazing. He's able to be comfortable on the ground, and any given point in time he's like an anaconda. He'll look to latch up stuff. And oh dude, there was like a highlight in the countdown video that I just watched the other day, and there was like that moment when he had Tony Ferguson's arm. Oh dude, he was hyperextending it, and then the end of the round happened. I was just like, oh dude, I thought he was gonna break that, dude. I'm like, lesser people would have tapped to something like that, and it's like I can't even like, why is there a fucking massive glare? There is like a massive glare. And you see that in my glasses? Like you can't even see my face or no. Oh, there you go. I mean, you can see it, but I guess we'll sit that back here. But dude, it was wild, dude. I mean, seeing his progression and definitely seeing how young he was at one point in time, literally growing up in the sport, and one of those guys that's slowly but surely getting better. And on appreciation level, I tend to sit here today and appreciate everything that he has accomplished, and the fact that like you get these guys who once weren't as good, and everybody would get kind of a win over them, or not saying that's where Charles Oliveira was, but his UFC record wasn't pretty to start. But he slowly but surely amassed himself in a world title challenger, and here we are this Saturday. He has the opportunity to make that happen and realize his dream of becoming a world champion. But on the side of Charles Oliveira, you got excuse not Charles Oliveira. He's got done talking about Charles Oliveira, but on the side of Michael Chandler's accomplished everything he's needed in his career. Obviously, the biggest question for him was what would happen when he finally gets to the UFC. We've seen what happened when he got to the UFC. You see it on display against Dan Hooker. He looked amazing, stopped him in the first round, and then obviously got signed up to fight for the title, the vacant title, because for the longest time we didn't know what Khabib was doing. Khabib reiterated it multiple times. He had to see some questions, and he had those questions answered, and he officially announced that he is vacating his belt. And the fight will be vacant. So they went with Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler. Michael Chandler, obviously, like I said, a long history in the world of MMA already in his own right. So, I mean, if he hadn't joined the UFC, there are some MMA fans that would have, had that what if thought in their head about it. What if he fought in the UFC? We got to see that what if, and now we're seeing him fight Charles Oliveira now. And if he wins, like I said, if he wins the UFC lightweight title on Saturday, that's a capstone to a near perfect career. A near perfect career, not near perfect. He's had his ups and his downs, and he's lost to some guys. Like his most recent loss to date was the Patricio Pitbull one. Patricio seems to really, every time anybody talks about Michael Chandler, he seems to post that highlight or talk about that moment and refer to himself as daddy or some shit like that. Weird shit like that. Like, we understand that you got the job done against Chandler in an amazing fashion and stuff like that. That's respectable. But, like I said, it gets old after a while. And the online trash talk bullshit and all that. I mean, Chandler's doing what he needs to do. He jumped at a big opportunity. He's in the UFC, and Pitbull isn't. So, like I said, it's not. And Pitbull can continue saying what he needs to say, but at the end of the day, you're only as good as the opponents that are around you in the Bellator cage. Pitbull's not even fighting in the UFC. First time a free agency that Pitbull could have had, and I remember the last time he re-signed his contract too. I was thinking he can go over to the UFC, but he chose not to. He elected not to. Why? Because he's stuck being the best that there is over in Bellator. He's not the best featherweight in the world. The best featherweight in the world, technically, is Alexander Volkanovski. But, a lot of people, in a lot of people's eyes, is Max Holloway. The best featherweight in the world are not over in Bellator. However, he could easily have the same success story that Michael Chandler had. Has he joined the UFC, he could be knocking out these motherfuckers. He definitely has nasty power, for sure. I mean, he's a great fighter that belongs over in the UFC. So maybe he's a UFC caliber. In a way, a lot of people see him as a UFC caliber fighter. But, like I said, he elected not to join the UFC. So Michael Chandler, realizing his dreams, fighting in the UFC, biggest organization, the most attention, all eyes, sold out crowd. The UFC isn't playing around. Houston, Texas, get on your motherfucking feet because we're having a sold out crowd, and Michael Chandler's fighting in front of a sold out crowd. So that's really, a really amazing accomplishment. So I would say, even though you have a win over someone like Michael Chandler, it doesn't mean you go around and post that on social media. I know it was like an anniversary or something like that the other day, but still, be better than that. But yeah, man, Chandler on the feet has absolute knockout power for sure. He's very, very good. He's very, very good on the feet. He's quick. He has good footwork. He's in and out. Watch the calf kicks because Charles Oliveira will throw calf kicks. Very interesting to see if it even goes to the ground. If Charles will attempt any takedowns on Chandler's going to even attempt those on the feet. I'd say he keeps it on the feet. It's going to be a good one. Charles Oliveira has nasty submissions as well. But I'd say if he goes to power, I'd have power on the side of Michael Chandler. However, Charles Oliveira does have some pop in his punches and stuff like that. And, he is a world champion ship level fighter. But, he's good in all areas. He's gotten good in all areas. His bread and butter is jiu-jitsu. I mean, his striking is good. His wrestling is really good. But I'd feel if Chandler has his way and is able to keep this fight on the feet, then that's going to favor Chandler a lot more because of the fact that he's going to be on the feet and he's obviously had more pad time and more, obviously, like I said, as a striker and a wrestler and stuff like that, he's generally one of the best, and he's used his striking in some of the most best fights of all time. The Eddie Alvarez fights, just every single fight that he's had. He's always had good hands, and he's had good hands for a while. Arguably way better hands than Charles Oliveira. It's a superior striker and way better than Charles. But Charles is like game as well. He's not going anywhere. And I mention my early bet earlier. I'm picking Charles Oliveira. Get ready. I'm picking Charles Oliveira to take out Michael Chandler by submission. However, like I said, this is a crazy ass sport that we live in, and that we watch and we witness each and every time that there's a sport, and the crazier things have happened. So, like I said, Mike, I don't know if I said this yesterday or I said it on the last episode, but I like filling my hair. That's why I keep doing that. If you guys are watching me, don't think I'm weird. Like I said, that the only way that I think Charles Oliveira is going to win is by decision or submission. And if anything, Michael Chandler, if he wins, it'll be by knockout. I don't think Michael Chandler is going to submit Charles Oliveira. It's either that or a decision. Very unlikely. I don't think it will go to the decision. I think that Charles Oliveira's last fight, he did go to a decision, but Michael Chandler had a finish, and he's hungry, and he's ready for blood, and he's thirsty, and he's looking to take that out on Charles Oliveira. And obviously, like I said, it'll be very, very interesting fight, very calculated, and like I said, high stakes matchup at 155 pounds to declare who the new UFC lightweight champion is. And obviously, from Chandler Oliveira, we've got another high stakes matchup coming up soon as well. McGregor versus Poirier, number 3. So the winner of Chandler Oliveira will be the undisputed UFC lightweight champion, and they will have a date with the winner of Poirier versus McGregor 3. So if Conor is successful against Poirier, boom, that jumps Conor right up in another championship level title fight. If Poirier continues to pour it on and then look good like he looked in the second fight with Conor, he pours it up, wins the title, he's going to be fighting either Michael Chandler or Charles Oliveira. It could easily be the other way. It could be Conor versus Chandler versus Oliveira. Like I said, it just depends on what happens in this fight. Very exciting fight. It's fight week. If you haven't checked out the countdown shows, I definitely recommend them. They're very motivating. Every single time I watch one of those fucking countdown videos, dude, I'm just like, oh my fucking god, dude, these are fucking pumping me up. And they do a very good job with production. The video quality is absolutely outstanding. The UFC always does a super good job with the video quality. So, oh, man, it's going to be a good fight, and I can't wait for that one. Some more action at lightweight, 155 pounds as well. Former interim champion Tony Ferguson returns to take on Beneil Dariush. Beneil Dariush is quietly, slowly but surely creeped up that list, and it's a top 10 fighter. Knockout power in his hands. His win over James Vick kind of started telling me about how fucking serious Beneil Dariush was, but then his fight with Drakkar Klose. What other people has he knocked out? Let me pull up his Wikipedia real quick. Let's pull it up. Beneil Dariush. He's number 9 at lightweight. Okay, so that still doesn't answer my question. Okay, so he has a win over Carlos Diego Ferreira. Oh, okay, I forgot about that. Fight of the night. Okay, and then he beat Scott Holtzman by knockout, spinning back fist. That was early 2020, or August 2020, and then he knocked out Drakkar Klose. He's been winning since since that loss, that famous loss to Alexander Hernandez. That was Alexander Hernandez's UFC debut, and obviously, unfortunately, that went bad for Beneil Dariush, but he has a real chance to really put a staple on his name with the win over Tony Ferguson. Tony Ferguson, however, is not an easy walk in the park. I mean, if he doesn't use his grappling or doesn't try to initiate in the ground game, it's going to be a fun uh, fight. A fun filled fight, jam packed filled fight, an action filled fight. And really exciting to see what version of Tony we get. I mean, did we hear rumors of Coach Joshua Fabia going to be in his corner? I sincerely hope that's not true. I sincerely hope that's not true. And I do believe Eddie Bravo as well. But Tony Ferguson doesn't need Joshua Fabia. None of the MMA community needs Joshua Fabia. So I mean, it's wild. That whole. I mean, we haven't even talked about. We'll talk about it though. Let's talk about that. I mean, he is just arrogant. He comes off very, like he said, he speaks too much about himself. Like he speaks too much about himself. He's very disrespectful and very he's like, he reminds me of like a horrible ex-girlfriend. Like he's just bitchy and really freaking weird, man. Just like, dude, that guy has some weird ass vibes. And watching those motherfucking videos of his school of self awareness shit, I'm like, you're a fucking weird motherfucker, bro. I mean, where do you find some of these dudes? And a dude is not washed up as Diego, and essentially he's kind of washed up in a way. Like his career is more so on the down low towards the trajectory towards the end than it is, where he's competitive. He's not as competitive as he once was. I mean, former Ultimate Fighter winner. I know we went completely from UFC 262 to talking about Diego Sanchez's weird coach. I don't know, because we're talking about Tony Ferguson and stuff. So that Tony versus Dariush, he's having Diego Sanchez's weird ass coach in his corner. I sincerely hope that's not true. I hope that's not true, man, because that'd be freaking weird. I mean, you guys see those the DMs between Dana White and Joshua Fabia? That shit was funny. Fabio called him like a bald, like, you bald fuck. He's like, and then Diego Sanchez got his release from the UFC. I'm not gonna waste any time putting my thoughts on Diego's career or anything like that, because he just got this weird ass coach in his corner. So I mean, if I see that guy in his corner, dude, oh my god, this is not gonna go good for Tony Ferguson. And then, like I said, Tony Ferguson seems like the kind of guy, like, who just, he's smart. He's not gonna have no bullshit around him, no disloyal people, no people that could ruin his career. And he already seems like a weird ass guy in himself. So I mean, Tony Ferguson, I'm surprised he didn't have Joshua Fabia earlier. I mean, the way that Tony Ferguson is, I wouldn't be surprised. It'd just be very disappointing to see what happens with Tony Ferguson if he is severely unsuccessful against Dariush. Like I said, it's only you and that opponent in that cage, and your coaches really can't help you. They can give you good advice. They can, keep you calm. They can motivate you. But at the end of the day, it's only Tony Ferguson in there. So it's going to be interesting to see what version we got. Like I said, I was curious to see what version that we would have gotten of Tony. But the fact that he has Diego Sanchez's weird coach in his corner, it makes me a little less confident in there. I'm picking Daniel Dariush to pull off a big win. Does he knock Tony out? Tony hasn't been knocked out, so if Dariush gets a knockout over Tony Ferguson, that would be a huge that'd be a huge feather in his cap. But we've seen Dariush get into very fan friendly, sluggish fights. Not sluggish in a bad way. It's just like, like the back and forth and shit. Like, back and forth. He just keeps coming forward and shit. Keeps coming forward. And he just keeps, I don't know, that's a little funny stance. I mean, my whole bed's in the way, so I'm not really able to, like, get up and posture up and shit. So, like, yeah, I mean, he just keeps coming forward. He's one of the, I mean, Tony Ferguson's the kind of guy to keep coming forward as well. So, in a weird way, I mean, I'm thinking about this fight as, like, a fun back and forth brawl. Like, this is going to be a back and forth fight of the night kind of fight. Win or lose, either, man. It's going to be a great fight regardless, because I feel like both of these guys always bring it every single time that they fight. It'll be interesting to see what definitely happens, though, for sure, because, like I said, both stories. I mean, Beneil Dariush creeps up that ladder slowly but surely. Will he get a UFC lightweight title shot anytime soon? I don't think so, but for Tony Ferguson, it's important for him to stay relevant. It's important for him to, obviously, keep his name in that discussion. Other than that, I mean, we've seen him riding on a 2-fight win streak or lose streak. Excuse me. The last fight to Gaethje, and before after Gaethje, most recently was just the Charles Oliveira one. We don't want to see Tony Ferguson go down 3 losses in a row. And just simply not a good look. And I mean, if he wins in impressive fashion and wins and has that weirdo in his corner, Joshua Fabia, then Joshua Fabia, if you got a problem, you can come see me, man. Sign a contract. Some weird ass dude chasing motherfuckers with knives in the cage. And weird ass subscription. I checked out that website, dude. That shit's all hella weird. Like, what? I mean, I understand he's trying to push his brand and his product and shit like that, but like, he just reminds me of a really bitchy ass ab. He reminds me. Here is the perfect name for Joshua Fabia in MMA. He's the MMA's version of a Karen. Joshua Fabia's the MMA Karen. He's the MMA Karen. Did you guys see that fighter meeting video that was leaked on Twitter, on Instagram, on all over social media? Of him talking and just being hella rude, and Paul Felder was in there as well, Megan O'Leary. You can all tell that they were getting hella upset and stuff. Like, his vibes are just so negative. Like, you can feel the negative vibes in the air. Most definitely I can feel negative vibes in the air when it comes to people in general, but this dude is just like, oh my god, dude, it's just like, this guy presents some fucking weird ass fucking vibes. And like I said, all the best to Tony Ferguson this Saturday against Dariush. Like I said, I really can't picture in my head any ways that Dariush is going to win other than by knockout, because of how good Dariush has been looking as of late. And Tony Ferguson, obviously, like I said, he can scrap, he can come forward, he's here for blood. I mean, unfortunately, like I said, he's on a 2-fight losing streak, and after that long amazing streak, he's gotten a lot older as of late too. And this fight will really show where he's at. But Dariush is his game as ever too. So if he loses Dariush, it may not necessarily be the end, but it could be very well on the short list of the end. You know what I mean? But quickly, ladies and gentlemen, we are brought to you by Anchor. Anchor is the one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast, ladies and gentlemen. 5 stars in the App Store for a reason. On Google Play, on Apple Podcasts. No, excuse me, not Apple Podcast. In the App Store on Apple Podcasts. And Apple Podcasts, we're available on Apple Podcasts, available on Spotify, available everywhere you get your shows. But 5 stars, 5-star rating for a reason, obviously. There's nothing negative to say about Anchor, ladies and gentlemen. I've been using Anchor for about 3.5, 4 years now. We're reaching 6 years on May 16th of this very year too. So why don't you join us on our next big party episode? The next episode of the show will be a party episode too. Like I said, Anchor is available in the App Store as well as the Google Play Store for free, 100% free, easy to use. You can use Facebook to sign in. You can create your own account. You can use Google to sign in. It's super easy. All you need is a microphone, a good voice, and a topic to talk about. And boom, there you go. Anybody in the world can do a podcast. You can go on a trip. You could go to the beach. You could go anywhere. You could literally have a podcast right there in front of you. Just pull out your smartphone, sit there, and talk with a good guest, a good person for an hour or more. You get the opportunity to create your own music. You get the opportunity to create your own intros, your own ads, record your own ads, do all of the jazz